Hey everybody, welcome to another sad and unfortunate post-game show, the Forever Mighty post-game show for your Anaheim Ducks. Tonight we witnessed a sweep, and it's not in our favor. This was just not the way I saw this playoff shaking out for Anaheim. I'm assuming a lot of you listening, and you, Eddie, did not see the Ducks getting swept in this series. But they went out on their shields tonight. To be as cliche as possible, they played the game they should have been playing the first three nights, and they only came to play tonight. And when you put yourself in a position to play your best and have your best game on an elimination night, that's tough. You really need to come with that the whole series.
Yeah, you do. And I mean, the only good thing, and it's tough to think of anything good right now, is that they didn't go out with like a whimper. They didn't end up losing, 8-1 in this game. They went out and they had some fight. I mean, the second Sharks goal is disappointing. It was a weak one, and it's right after the Ducks got right back into the game. But I guess that's the bright light at the end of the tunnel is that they looked okay. They battled hard to finish off this game. But there's no way anybody expected it to go this way. I mean, we thought it would be a 6 or 7 game series. I would be hard-pressed to find anybody, even the most optimistic of Sharks fans, that would have thought that this was going to be a sweep. I mean, if you ask them all now, they'd probably say, oh, yeah, for sure. Like, we're definitely going to sweep the Ducks. But, I mean, nobody predicted this, and it sucks. But, we're here. We're here to hopefully cheer you guys up, and we'll go as brief as possible through the recap. But it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Ducks, to say the least.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot that's going to be happening. At least that's what we thought. There's been a few pundits that have thought otherwise, which we'll get to in our post-game segment of the show. But let's get into our pregame here. It's Gibby versus Martin Jones. Who else would be in net for either one of those guys, despite Gibson being pulled in the 8-1 slaughter in Game 3? He gets the start as he should. And we saw a weird call-up that happened the day before. Larson, Berra, they get called up. There was some, rumbles around. Maybe there's an injury or whatever. But, it just turns out the Gulls are eliminated from their chances of going into the playoffs as well. So why not have emergency backup? Super common. No injuries. Nobody was taking anyone's spot. Going on to the scratches for tonight, Kevin Bieksa, Cam Fowler, Corbinian Holzer, Captain Canada. Maybe the last time I say that. Antoine Vermette and Troy Terry, as well as Jacob Larson. Those are your scratches. No lineup changes. I don't know why there was no lineup changes, but whatever. It's kind of the way this thing has gone. As you will see here, the Ducks just couldn't crack Martin Jones enough in this game. Eddie, let's hit the intro and get this rolling.
Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets up center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal. Perry in the face, 1-1. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
Well, Gordon Bray brings up a good point. At least we don't have to ask about Troy Terry anymore. At least we don't have to wonder why he's not in the lineup on a nightly basis. Taking some kind of positives, I guess, out of a disappointing day. We don't have to wonder why Troy Terry was brought into the Ducks lineup to play 2 games at the end of the regular season.
No, don't have to worry about that anymore, unfortunately, as he was not in the lineup to help this offense. Ducks came out with a pretty aggressive forecheck early, but of course there would be issues. If the puck is turned over, Couture gets sent in on a breakaway, but John Gibson was there. Good early stop for him. I mean, what else have we not said about his play? Just kind of been a night-by-night thing for Gibson, even into the regular season. Obviously, it's why we've been talking about him being a Vezina candidate, which he was snubbed. We can get to that in the post-game. But I said Randy Couture, the UFC fighter. That's so
Might
funny.
as well have
Couture,
been.
Yeah, it could have just been him anyway. Couture stopped on a breakaway by Gibson. And then, unfortunately, Sorensen, who's kind of been a thorn in the Ducks' side, untouched in front of the net, collects a juicy rebound, throws it into the empty net over John Gibson. If there was a scramble in front, Gibby tried to get over, but in the scramble ends up falling forward and left that entire half the net up. I don't think you can blame Gibby on that, but all of a sudden it's 1-0 San Jose.
Yeah, we've pretty much said that on almost every Sharks goal in this series, because you can't really blame Gibby on that one. And he made a good save off the rebound, and he had some trouble picking it up, but nobody's there to help him out. Missed assignment from either Getzlaf or I believe it was Manson who was on the ice. And Sorensen has been a surprise, I guess you could say, for the Sharks. He's almost an Andre Kasha type of player, if you had to compare him with somebody on the Ducks, where he's that depth guy who is more of an energy player, but he's contributing on the score sheet for the Sharks. I mean, 3 goals in 3 straight games, and like you said, he's been a thorn in the Ducks' side, and these aren't the guys you expect to score. The Ducks actually did a good job, again, of limiting chances from Pavelski, Kane, and Donskoy, but the Sharks are so deep, you've got these guys hurting you.
Yeah, and it's strange, too, because he had 3 goals in this series in 4 games, and I think in the regular season he had 5 or less. I had to go back and look at the stats, but he did not have more than a handful of goals. He just came alive for whatever reason in the playoffs, unfortunately, for our Ducks. But Gibson would have to stand on his head again, robbing Evander Kane after that goal, after some pretty passing by Pavelski. And then it's just been the same old for the Ducks. Unable to break the neutral zone. Sharks able to helm them in their own zone. And then Donskoy gets tripped. Sharks go on the power play. Didn't look like it was going to be the best of games in the beginning of this period, Eddie. I felt like, just looking at this, this is how it's going to go, huh? It's just going to be one of those nights where the Ducks are just going to give up chances and not have any fight. Is that kind of the same feeling you had going through the beginning of this?
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, it wasn't an awful period, but it was one where it was kind of mediocre, and you thought the Ducks would definitely come out a lot more aggressive. I mean, they started pretty good for about the first minute and a half of the game, and then obviously there was a Couture breakaway, like you already mentioned, and then the Sorensen goal kind of sucked the wind out of the Ducks, and they just kind of limped their way to the end of the first period. And yeah, it was one of those games you're like, God damn, I mean, they need to come out here and they need to show some fight. I mean, their season's on the line, and we saw almost none of that until really the late part of the first period.
Yeah, the biggest chance for the Ducks in that first period was Getzlaf being robbed right on top of the crease after Perry provided a beautiful pass from behind the net. I mean, that's just been the story of this game as it would unfold the rest of the night, just things not going Anaheim's way. Great chance there by the captain, but Jones says no.
Yeah, and as everybody's pointed out already in the chat here, like Ruben said, Jones was insane, and just everybody's pretty much saying and talking about how Martin Jones has been so good in this series. And I mean, he hasn't been tested a lot. I mean, the Ducks had 46 shots last game, but it wasn't a typical 46 save performance. But in this one, he was full value for his performance. I mean, he was great. He was the number 1, number 2, and number 3 star probably in this game. The amount of quality saves that he had, the Ducks were actually getting chances in front of the net, and that's what we talked about in the last show, that they're going to have to go to the net, they're going to have to make life difficult for Martin Jones, and they did that. And Perry was right in and around there, and I can't even count the amount of times he was robbed by Martin Jones tonight. He just wasn't able to finish.
I remember watching the game. My wife sitting next to me, and she looks up, she starts watching. It was like in the second period. And she was like, can we just get rid of Perry? He can't bury the puck. Can you just bench him for a couple of shifts? Just get rid of him from the ice right now. He was pissing me off. It just the way it was. Martin Jones was just standing on his head and robbing the Ducks. Getting into the second period, that's exactly what happened. Perry is just absolutely robbed by Jones. Raquel set him up in all alone after a spin pass from Getzlaf, and he just can't bury it. I just don't know what it was. All of a sudden, the Ducks, like you said, getting net front presence, getting rebounds on Jones, it just didn't matter. It just nothing mattered for the Ducks offense. Jones was just there to stop it all.
Yeah, and they're finally getting the slot chances, like I just said. I mean, they were actually getting quality chances from the middle of the ice, and that's something we hadn't seen all series, and they finally saved it, of course, for Game 4 when they're on the brink of elimination. But Martin Jones showed up and stood his ground, and he's been a guy who's been streaky at times pretty much throughout his entire career, but he's had good playoff numbers, and he's looked strong throughout the majority of this series, and he just saved his best for this last game here, which is what you want from your goaltender. I mean, he's going to have to step it up to a whole nother level, of course, going in against Vegas in round 2, but I mean, he showed why the Sharks put so much faith in him, because he can have these types of games when everything's on the line and you're looking to move on to the second round and not let Anaheim get back in this series. And he stole the game for them.
To you and everybody listening who was in our chat, did everyone just kind of roll their eyes when they saw Nick Ritchie take that slashing call in the neutral zone and be like, there it is. There's the dumb penalty. There's Nick Ritchie making a dumb penalty that he didn't really need to take. He's 175 feet away from his net and decides to slash somebody in the neutral zone. I know I did. I was like, really? Are you kidding me? But fortunately for Anaheim, they're able to kill off that power play. And then another big chance here. Getzlaf gets the puck after a poor clearing attempt by San Jose. A rare one, honestly. I mean, you don't see San Jose turn the puck over all that often in this series. He gets the puck out in front to Jones. Perry can't lift it over the first time or the second time. Unbelievable. Just not working for the Ducks here. Perry robbed again in front of the net.
Yeah, and I mean, that one's difficult for him to get up because the puck's just kind of sitting there right in front of Martin Jones' pads, and he's got a Sharks player pretty much all over him. I think it was Tomas Hertl or Marc-Edouard Vlasic who was right over top of him. It's really hard for him to get that up there, but he's in that area. That's where we've kind of expected him to be all series, and he hasn't been there. He's getting his chances, but Martin Jones again. I mean, I put out a tweet during the game. I was like, just stop. Just stop, please, Martin Jones. Just let something in to make a mistake for once, because he was just killing it. I mean, he was stopping everything the Ducks could throw at them, because they were starting to finally gain some momentum in the second period and really showing some fight and some hustle and really showing that the game was on the line for them.
To hit the chat real quick, when I asked that question about Ritchie, Chase said yes.
Yeah.
Derek Lockwood said yes. Jimmy says Ritchie needs to be gone. Chase says when we had momentum, just look for Ritchie to kill it. So yeah, safe to say. And also they said everyone at the watch party felt the same way too. So it makes me laugh. But you're right. It's just the way it was going for the Ducks, and it was kind of tough. It was in tight for Perry, but
yeah.
You said even in our notes here, you put expletive Martin Jones. F. Martin Jones. And I laughed about that because that was right after he robs Derek Grant in front of the net. I mean, what are you going to do? The Ducks were throwing everything at Jones. If this was game one, I would have been 100% okay with a loss. You did everything you possibly could. You created all kinds of chances in front. These were the kinds of games the Ducks were losing to San Jose in the regular season. I'm okay with that. But, I mean, just Jones just dominating here. And then the Ducks go back on the power play. Puck is out in front after a shot by Raquel. Perry can't wrap home the rebound. And I just wrote, I just screamed across. I remember yelling out loud, and my kid popped too. She was half asleep on the couch. It's just so aggravating to watch. And then, of course, the Ducks would appear to score as the buzzer went off. Getzlaf slams home a puck laying out in front of the crease after it was thrown to the front of the net in the corner. But the buzzer, it was literally 0.2 of a second over the buzzer. Yeah. That was the end of that. Sharks retain the 1-0 lead after 2.
I mean, that's typical, right? I mean, the Ducks were having some momentum. They're doing well in the power play, and they finally bang one home. And of course, it's after time expires. And I mean, we'll get to it in the beginning of the third period too. But it's not the only time the Ducks had a goal overturned in this game, and for good reason. I mean, they weren't calls that shouldn't have happened, but. I mean, it's just a dagger, really. You're like, oh, they scored, and it's kind of close, and then you see the replay get slowed down, and you're that close to tying a game. You're 0.2 of a second away from having a tie game going into the third period. I mean, just a momentum killer, and you could see it on Twitter. I mean, everybody was excited. They thought they'd scored, and then the energy just gets sapped out immediately after you see the replay.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't be disappointed if they wanted to be, upset again in the beginning of the third period, because the Ducks apparently score again on the power play. But it turns out that Getzlaf didn't fully cross the blue line with the puck. I saw that on the initial play, and I was like, I hope they don't see it. He just didn't bring the puck across the blue line fully before the other forwards entered the zone. It's the call. Raquel's goal does not stand. It was a great shot, went through Jones. It's offsides. It's the letter of the law. Doesn't mean I can't hate it. There needs to be a plane, meaning once the puck is on the blue line, it's onside. You don't have to worry about escape being lifted. You don't have to worry about the puck being all the way across. I hate the letter of the law when it comes to offside, and it's only really been under the microscope, Eddie, since they created this offside challenge. And I don't think it even was challenged. I think Toronto reviewed it. I'd have to go back and look.